Whether or not you're a fan of President Donald Trump, I think it's fair to say that he looks at business and life, generally speaking, in terms of doing whatever he can in order to enrich himself and his family. And if others happen to benefit from that as well, if they enrich themselves in the process, that's great, but it's not necessary. So with that kind of context in mind, it stands to reason that following what Trump and the White House invest in should probably be a fairly wise investment strategy for the rest of us as well. Of course, they do represent the smart money. Today, this is exactly what we're examining: 6 altcoins that the White House is going to be pumping because they own the bags. Welcome to the channel. My name is Maddie, and this is Altcoin Buzz. TGIF, and happy Friday. I wish you all the best of luck if you choose to invest, genuinely. However, and as you know, I'm not a financial or investment advisor, nor is this video official financial or investment advice. Let's begin here at number 1 with a project that I really do like, but we haven't talked about in a while. Crypto.com and Cronos, whose ticker is CRO. That's pumped about 110% in the last 7 days. And I'm going to explain why that is. August 26th was very important. It was a historic day for Crypto.com. Trump Media and Technology Group, the owners of Donald Trump's Truth Social platform, they announced a business combination with cryptocurrency exchange Crypto.com. This Tuesday, Trump Media, Crypto.com, and Yorkville Acquisition, they all entered into a definitive agreement to jointly establish Trump Media Group's CRO strategy. The entity focuses on acquisition of CRO, specifically to build a treasury of at least $6.2 billion. That's good news if you're a holder of Cronos, like I am, by the way, but why exactly did Trump Media choose CRO, which again is the native currency of the Cronos blockchain developed by Crypto.com? Well, Cronos' developer, Crypto.com, has become one of the Trump administration's leading crypto partners, attending the first White House Crypto Summit, which was hosted by President Trump earlier this year in March. And they attended, by the way, as only one of 20 invited participants. Trump Technology Group subsequently signed a non-binding agreement with Crypto.com to launch a series of exchange-traded funds, or ETFs, in the United States with a focus on digital assets and securities that are, quote, made in America. And so as the Trump government crypto association continues, it's fair to say that there's a lot of upside in it for Cronos and, of course, for CRO. At number 2 here on this list, we're looking at Chainlink. And the United States government has tapped into Chainlink in a big way. This project was selected to provide data feeds from the Bureau of Economic Analysis, that's the BEA, and will publish additional data feeds in response to consumer demands or at the behest of the United States government. Chainlink has gathered kind of modest gains on this announcement, but at Altcoin Buzz, and speaking for myself right now personally, we are huge fans of Chainlink, myself, again, especially, and its infrastructure capabilities. It's really one of the few crypto projects out there that has a very pragmatic and real-world use case. Now, publishing government data on chain is part of the Trump administration's plan to make government spending more transparent, and that's being done in a bid to at least ostensibly improve accountability and make the U.S. a so-called world capital of cryptocurrency. So, the fact that Chainlink is at the center of this big initiative is very impressive, and as a consequence, it's fair to assume that big gains will follow for Link. The third White House altcoin on this list that we want to look at is Ethereum and ETH, of course. But before we get into that, a quick word about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is, of course, the largest White House holding. That's not an accident. So just kind of as a general reminder, a public service announcement, if you don't have any BTC in your portfolio, it is important to get some. Okay, but back to Ethereum. ETH is by far the biggest White House holding in terms of altcoins. We see the likes of Eric Trump, for example, all over X promoting the purchase of ETH. That's probably no accident. He's reminding you that they have it, they want it to grow, and you should probably buy some as well. Unlike a lot of the more shady shillers in our industry, which do exist, we see the World Liberty Wallet very transparently and can see if they are using the public for exit liquidity. Now, I know what you're probably thinking, as far as the Trump meme coin token, that was a fiasco that I'm not too happy about. But as far as Ethereum and the other altcoins on this list, it's not quite the same situation. They are holding on to these coins, at least as far as we can tell. And that makes these selections lower risk for you to hold than most of the other altcoins in the market right now. Really, it's almost impossible to go onto CryptoX and not find something positive that Trump, his kids, or others in the White House are saying about Ethereum. And that bodes well for a project that we're already big fans of. As you have seen these last few days and these last few weeks, we've been talking about slowly unveiling a new project that we're very proud of here at Altcoin Buzz. Check out the link in the description below. We're inviting all of our viewers to try it, to check it out. Once again, you can find the link and participate in the description below. Next up on our list here is Ripple and, of course, the XRP token. This one may be controversial. And I say controversial because Trump did, in fact, mention back in March this whole potential crypto reserve and also mentioned XRP specifically, but has since done nothing about it. Also, that announcement made a pretty big splash, yet the main WLFI wallet, as you see here, has no XRP in it. So that's kind of weird, but overall, from the macro perspective, things are still objectively looking quite good and quite bullish, I would argue, for XRP from a Washington perspective. The lawsuit is finally finished, and in the short term, we're going to see if it's been holding back the price. But in the long term, we have a pretty strong signal here that things are good once again. Swift, for example, they confirmed that they're testing XRP's payment rails for their network, which is positive, yeah. It's also something the XRP army has been saying for years and years now as something that has been going on, which is clearly false. Testing is just starting now, but at least it's the fulfillment of what a lot of people were saying was happening for a long time. In this case, it's not with XRP alone. Another big cap that we very much like, Hedera Hashgraph, is involved in the test as well. So we have XRP and HBAR. They do have a partnership together with Swift, but we don't know if that means Swift is testing both the XRPL, the XRP ledger, and the Hashgraph mainnet as collaborators, or are they kind of competing against each other to see which one is going to win out in the end? We're not exactly sure. But if you think Trump and the White House will buy more crypto, then it is a pretty good bet to assume that they're going to buy at least some XRP. Next up here, we want to consider Solana and the SOL token, because Solana was also mentioned in that same crypto reserve announcement. And we also know that Trump has used Solana, as that's where the Trump and Melania meme coins had their launch. They also had their money raises, the eventual rugs. This was all Solana ecosystem stuff. Other than the Trump token needing to buy it to hold liquidity for trades, we don't see any long-term positions in Solana. But Trump does own Solana for his meme coin, at least. Everyone on the meme coin team allegedly bought SOL with meme coin profits. And Trump's support for the Solana network continues with the recent launch of the USD1 stablecoin on Solana. That launch looks to have been successful. So at least from our perspective, it's probably a good bet that the Trump team will buy more SOL, even if not held in the official WLFI wallet. Clearly, at least in the background, Trump likes Solana and has made money using Solana. That support should probably continue. Last but not least for today, we want to consider Cardano and, of course, ADA.
Second, a large part of my time in 2025 will also be devoted to the political process. I'm going to be spending quite a bit of time working with lawmakers in Washington, D.C., and quite a bit of time working with members of the administration to help foster and facilitate with other key leaders in industry the crypto policy. We have to do this and we have to get it done. There's a very high probability that the Republicans will control not only the Senate and the presidency, but also the Congress, the House. And in the process of doing so, this is the best opportunity we have ever had in the history of the industry to get clarity for our industry.
Now, you've probably seen this out there already. Believe me, so have we, 1,000 times, probably more. But there is something to be said for working directly on crypto policies. Here we have the founder of Cardano, Charles Hoskinson, who gets to plead his case for Cardano directly to the White House audience himself. That's powerful. All of these tokens are deeply ingrained in the conversations the White House is having when it comes to cryptocurrencies. And so that includes questions like, for example, is the US government going to buy more crypto or just hold what is in the current stockpile? Will the US government choose to buy Bitcoin? And which cryptos are the Trumps and other White House officials looking to buy and support? If I had to rank these in order, I would say the biggest beneficiary and the one the White House is buying the most of, and will continue to buy the most of, is probably Ethereum. After that, we dive into the realm of uncertainty. But as far as that goes, as far as ETH goes, there's probably no question about that. Secondly, I would put actually Solana in second place. Then in a tie behind Solana, probably XRP and Cardano. Both could see some buying action, especially based on FaceTime with the White House staff and other advancements, other decision makers. But the takeaway message here is that when it comes to Trump and his policy team, Ethereum and Solana are going to be in the lead.